Hello, beautiful world and all its inhabitants. Welcome to the 5 o'clock evening news.
The Vietnam War is still going on. Here's what's happening.
President Johnson enacted a selective service system, and all males ages 18 to 26 are called to service as needed. Some men have chosen to join the National Guard or Coast Guard in order to secure deferment from serving in Vietnam. More young men against the war are indirectly avoiding draft enrollment and entering college. However, Johnson has now specified that students need to be outstanding academically.
However, African Americans are taking an active role in the war. The Imbalance of Men has also instituted a draft lottery system, initiated by the Defense Department. This seems to be leading to growing dissent about the war. Even Martin Luther King Jr. finally decided to end his silence and speak out against this war.
King spoke on behalf of the race issue, saying, "We have been repeatedly faced with the cruel irony of watching Negro boys on TV screens as they kill and die together for a nation that has been unable to seat them together in the same schools."
This sparked a race riot at the U.S. Army stockade at Long Binh, Vietnam.
Although the U.S. military does not allow women to serve in combat, 7,500 women are currently serving as Army and Navy nurses to show their support. Thousands more have volunteered at the Red Cross and United Services Organization. Our field reporter is looking for some insight from the American people and is currently speaking with Allentown native Diane Woods to see what she thinks about the war. Alexis?
Thank you, Dana. I'm here with Diane Woods to hear what she has to say about the Vietnam War and women participating in it. So, Diane, what are your thoughts?
I think it's great that the American women are stepping up and the American government is letting them get involved in the war.
Do you plan to get involved in the war yourself?
I'm not one to get involved in combat, but I fully encourage and support the women who are.
Do you personally know any women involved in the war?
Yeah, my neighbor Barbara actually is a nurse at Cameron Day.
Do you think these women should be allowed to serve in combat?
Yeah, definitely. The women are as strong as the men, and if they're willing to put their life on the line, then I think it's great that they want to serve their country.
Well, thank you, Diane, very much for your time and sharing your thoughts as the average American. Back to you.
We're proud of you, girls.
In other news, a growing youth movement, which we call the New Left, has begun joining together different activist groups and organizations to protest the war.
One of these groups, the Students for a Democratic Society, has demanded sweeping changes across the nation. If you recall, this group was founded by Tom Hayden and Al Haber 3 years ago. Recently, these men convened in Port Huron, Michigan, to draft the group's declaration known as the Port Huron Statement. It opens, "We are people of this generation, bred in at least modest comfort, housed now in universities, looking uncomfortably to the world we inherit." The statement further called for a restoration of participatory democracy and greater freedoms for the individual.
Another New Left group, gaining distinction at the University of Berkeley, California, the Free Speech Movement, is led by Mario Savio, a philosophy major and dynamic speaker. This group has focused its criticism on what it's naming the American machine, the nation's faceless and powerful business and government institutions.
These groups have both influenced others. At colleges around the nation, students are addressing their rights. The groups are joining together to protest the war.
The growing number of youth opposing the war has specified their beliefs against the war, insisting that the conflict in Vietnam is a civil war that the U.S. military has no business entering. Others comment that the United States could not possibly police the world and is losing strength in Vietnam. Still more are calling the matter quite simply morally unjust.
In other news, David Harris, who has been in prison for 20 months for refusing to serve in Vietnam, has spoken out about his motives. One of our field reporters is currently visiting him to get the full story. Alexis?
Thanks, Dana. I'm here with David Harris. Hi, David. I, along with many other Americans, have been left wondering, why on earth would you refuse to serve in Vietnam? Would you mind sharing your thoughts?
Theoretically, I can accept the notion that there are circumstances when you would have to kill people. I cannot accept the notion that Vietnam is one of those circumstances. That left me with the option of standing by and watching this enormous injustice or finding some way to commit myself against it. I found that the best way to commit myself was through total non-cooperation. I wasn't about to become part of the machine.
With being imprisoned, do you at all regret your decision to refuse the draft? Doesn't this mean treason?
Not at all. I stand by it. In fact, you can love your country with disagreeing with it. I mean, that's freedom of speech. And that's what makes America so great.
Thank you, David. Back to you, Kaylee.
75,000 protesters marched on Washington's Lincoln Memorial. As hundreds of protesters broke past the military police and mounted the Pentagon steps, they were confronted by tear gas and truncheons. Around 1,500 demonstrators were injured and at least 700 were arrested.
Americans are finding themselves divided into two camps regarding the war. Those who strongly oppose the war and believe the U.S. should withdraw, better known as the Doves, and those who feel just as strong that America should unleash a greater show of military force, better known as the Hawks.
In spite of all that, the majority of Americans still supports the war and is shocked to see protesters criticize their government.
President Johnson is being attacked by Doves for not withdrawing and by Hawks for not increasing military power. In spite of these criticisms, Johnson has continued his policy of slow escalation.
Johnson is quoted saying, "There has always been confusion, frustration, and difference of opinion in this country. When there is war going on, we are going to have these differences. No one likes war. All people love peace, but you can't have freedom without defending it."
Johnson is dismissing members of Congress and others who are questioning his war policies. Defense Secretary McNamara has resigned to become head of the World Bank. This leaves America wondering where Johnson's presidency will go from here.
Thank you for watching. Stay classy.
I'd like to make myself believe